Hello, Mr. Seji. Today we would like to present you about our country and the product that we've chosen. I'm Mirel Ergeneli and my teammates are Büşra Şahin and Ömer Şekerci, and we're going to do the presentation today with Büşra Şahin. I would like to first talk about the history of the country. When we look at the history and the background, we see a lot of events and wars. The World War I, World War II are the biggest wars that affected Russia's background. Also, while these were happening in 1922, Soviet Union was born, that also affected the country and the culture of the country as well. In 1949, there was a Cold War between Russia and USA. And after that, in 1991, the Soviet Union also collapsed. And the remaining area became Russia. While these were happening, there were also very important people that managed the country, as Lenin, Stalin, and Putin. They had also big effects on Russia as well. So, after that, I would like to talk about the geography. The geography is really important for us because we chose hazelnut as our product, and the geography affects our export as well, as I'm going to mention. So, Russia is located in the northern part of Eurasia, and it's the largest country of the world. Their capital is Moscow, and their climate is mainly cold Arctic because they're really near to the north part of the world. So they don't actually have a good, efficient land to do agriculture. And when we look at their agriculture, we can see that they're mostly doing their agriculture about grain, like wheat and barley. And also, I would like to give you information that 70% of their land is empty. So we don't know if it's beneficial that they're the biggest country or not, because they can't actually use all of their land. But they are the biggest country that has lands near sea. So it is a beneficial thing for seaway transportation. When we go and look at the culture of the country, we see a really actually cultural country. So also the culture is affected by their history as well. Their language is mainly Russian. 81% of people talk Russian, and their main three religions are Christianity, Islam, and Buddhism. When we look at aesthetics, we see things such as classical music, literature, and ballet. In Russia, ballet is a very popular cultural activity, founded in 1776. The most popular known pieces is also Swan Lake, and when we look at the literature, there are really important people, such as Leon Tolstoy, Dostoevsky. And people are reading their novels worldwide, and they're really important people, not for Russia, but for all of the people all around the world. And also Russians have little Matryoshka babies that is known worldwide as well. So when we look at their culture, we see a really suitable and a good country that has a lot of cultural instance. Lastly, when we come at the economy, their population is 142 million people. Their GDP per capita is 9,000 billion and export $2,085 billion, whereas their import $194 billion. So we all know that Russia is a really powerful country, and I would like to talk about how they become and what they have lived before. Russia has undergone significant changes since the collapse of Soviet Union, moving from a centrally planned economy towards a more market-based economy. And both economic growth and reform have stalled in recent years. However, and Russia remains a predominantly statist economy with a high concentration of wealth in official hands. Economic reforms in 1990s privatized most industry, with notable exceptions in the energy, transportation, banking, and defense-related sectors. The protection of the property rights is still weak, and state continues to interfere in the free operation of the private sector. And a combination of falling oil prices, international sanctions, and structural limitations pushed Russia into a deep recession in 2015. But Russia is emerging from a 2-year recession caused by low oil prices, and their GDP and economy is growing well. When we look at their economy, trade is really important for Russia because the value of exports and imports taken together equals 51% of the GDP. The average applied tariff rate is 4.9%, and the export taxes interfere with trade. So when we generally analyze Russia as their culture, as their economy, as their geography, we chose hazelnut to export to Russia, and we think that it can be really beneficial for us and Russia as well. Now, my friend Büşra will talk about our export and why we chose hazelnut. Thank you.
Hi again. I'm going to talk about, as Mirel said, our product, market plan, and our competitors. We wanted to choose hazelnut to export to Russia because we know that hazelnut is very known and common product in Turkey, and we are highly exporting hazelnut most of the European countries. We can think that hazelnut will be a bridge between Russia and Turkey because our political relations was so bad with Russia, but nowadays Turkey had solved the problems with Russia and strengthened our relationship. When exporting a product, we need to have a good marketing plan. It means we need to find some points to be successful in international marketing. First, I want to talk about our country's hazelnut production. Turkey is the world's first and largest producer and exporter of hazelnut. In 2016, Turkey earned $1.7 billion by exporting more than 205,000 tons of hazelnut. And just in September 2017, Turkey earned $187 million by exporting 28,000 tons of hazelnut. When it comes to talk about relative advantages, we can say that because of Russia's geographical feature, they cannot produce hazelnut. They are producing and consuming pine nuts. In Russia, there are not enough hazelnut in the country, so they need to import hazelnut from the other countries. So we are the big advantage in this process. To decide how to transport our product to Russia, we thought that our product is not so expensive and we want to have so much profit. So it's better to use cheapest way, and it's sea way, as Mirel said before. And we are going to choose sea way transportation. About our distribution channels, we are targeting junk food brands and also actually all the other brands that can use hazelnut in their products. And we don't need to budget for advertising because we are gonna sell our product hazelnut to the brands, and they are gonna use it, and they do their advertising by their own. And when it comes to talk about pricing is one of the most important stage when doing international business. When it comes to decide pricing, we need to see who are our competitors, and we have the biggest competitor, which is Georgia. Georgia is our biggest competitor, and when doing pricing in Russia, we need to follow the strategy by taking Georgian prices into consideration. We cannot raise the prices so much due to the cheapness of Georgian nuts. because they are selling them so cheap, so we cannot sell it so expensive. Exactly, for all countries today, the price of nuts in Turkey is shaped completely according to supply and demand because of Georgian prices. As a result, when we generally look at Turkey and Russia and the subject we analyzed, we can see that Russia can be the target market to export hazelnut, and it would be beneficial for both markets. So it's better to sell hazelnut to Russia. It's the end of our presentation. Thank you for listening.